Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another unofficial shoutcast of me, Ikslorin, playing in the NVidia Geforce Hearthstone Pro AM tournament. We're right now here at the 4th round with Ikslorin going up against Slowz or Slowz. I'm not completely sure how that should be pronounced. I think it's Slowz, so I'm just going to do that from here on out. This is, as with the rest of the tournament, a best of 5 in conquest mode, meaning that both players will have to win with all the 3 decks once. The 3 decks that I've chosen beforehand going into this series. Ikslorin, having chosen a very interesting set of decks with a fatigue druid, a hand mage, the one that is well known as the Echo Control by Day 9, and an Aggro Fellweaver Mech Rogue made by Trump. Ikslorin really just wants to gain an advantage by surprising his opponent and keep them guessing and playing the mind games here. Slowz, just like what we've seen in the first and second round, is instead going to go for a strong meta deck play instead, with some very control-ish decks, with the Ramp Druid, a Mech Mage, and a Control Warrior. The reason why I'm saying that this is very control-ish is compared to the ladder meta decks, or ladder meta, we haven't seen any Hunter yet in these first 4 rounds, and only really strong control decks, or if anything, we're only going to see a mid-range deck with a Mech Mage. What Ikslorin really hopes for here is that his Fatigue Druid is not going to go up against the Mech Mage, as that is a sure win for Slowz. While he though also doesn't really want to have his Hand Mage go up against the Druid, as it is being said by Day 9 himself, the creator of the deck, that is the worst matchup for it itself. And with the amount of control that Slowz actually has in all of these decks, it's very questionable if he can actually, or if Ikslorin actually can get his Mech Rogue up and going, which unlike what we saw against with Nanaki in the second round. So in conclusion, I would give Slowz the small edge here. He will probably win a 3-2, and Ikslorin mainly probably losing because of his Mech Rogue here. So without further ado, let's go straight into the first match. A very interesting thing here, actually, we're again seeing pretty much the same matchup like the other 2 series in the first match here. A Fatigue Druid, actually really wanting not to go out with the strongest deck at first, but wants to try and see if he can actually keep the mind game starting already from game 1 with a Fatigue Druid, and the opponent also like the first and the second round, going for a Control Warrior. And with this matchup is, just like the others, probably the thing that Ikslorin really would have wished for with his Fatigue Druid, as the Control Warrior, if at least Slowz doesn't play correctly, is going to be milled heavily. The thing is though that, as I said, if he doesn't play correctly, a Control Warrior can actually win against a Fatigue Druid if they play one threat at a time, so Ikslorin will run out of answers before they actually hit Fatigue. Because the thing is, a Fatigue deck is just all about greed. I've said that each and every time we see the Fatigue Druid being played, but that is really the reason why you want to do it. You need to kill several threats with one card, or you are just not going to be able to win, because your opponent is always going to have card advantage. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into the game here. Ikslorin starting with some decent stuff here. The Poison Seed should probably go away. The Healing Touch is probably also rather unneeded here at first. But I really like the Dancing Swords, especially since Ikslorin is going second. He can play a 4-4 on turn 2. The Healing Touch Ikslorin is actually thinking about keeping, should Slowz actually have somewhat of a good and aggressive opening here. But I would actually, here in retrospect, probably rather want to throw out the Healing Touch in hopes of getting something strong in the early game. The Acidic Swarm boost, getting ready to kill the early Fiery Warhawks by Slowz, which I mean, this is a control warrior, obviously. He's going to have a fiery war axe turn 2. And no play by Ikslorin. Makes a lot of sense. There's no reason to play any of these things. He's just waiting. And Slowz doesn't actually have anything that he wants to play this turn, so Ikslorin able to just play the Dancing Swords, get a 4/4 out on the board, and Slowz can only really answer this with a fiery war axe and nothing else. You could also execute it like we saw Freibeer doing, but I don't believe that is really worth a play. So Slowz is actually just going to go for the card draw and some extra armor. I like that play, gaining a lot of armor so that he can actually try and kill this thing. Though he cannot shield slam it anymore. He can actually shield slam it just after hero powering, but that would be the whole turn. And using a shield slam on this Dancing Swords, even though it looks good enough on paper, the thing is that Ikslorin also has Malorn ready, though Slowz probably doesn't know that. And the Malorn actually is a double play on the meta. At least that is something that Ikslorin realized here afterwards, after playing in this tournament, that it actually was a double play on the meta. Since no one is going to use Malorn, everyone just throws down the big game hunter immediately. That's pretty much the reasoning here. So Malorn in the very end is going to be a big threat. But let's get back to just the game here. Just removing one Death Spite so that there's not going to be anything unlike something like the Acolyte of Pain. Slowz actually going for the Whirlwind here on the just to kill this Acidic Swarm boost, but meaning that he actually Ikslorin is able to get the most out of this Acolyte of Pain, which he probably didn't want to do. And since Ikslorin actually already has the other Cold Light in hand, he feels it's more than safe to just go straight for another Cold Light and not bouncing it back into hand and burning the first execute of Slowz. Even though it's not anything big, it's still going to be something that Slowz may probably need later in this game. And execute is very, very handy in general. Also, if it's just going to be something like a lower Thep, or so just a Cold Light or something. So we see now here, Slowz just playing a Sludge Belcher. Well, Ikslorin can actually get through it with a swipe, meaning that he also gets another card down from Acolyte of Pain. And gets the Sludge Belcher killed. Unlike what we saw against Freibeer, he actually doesn't need the Naturalize this time. And the board is clear, and Slowz now also burning the Fiery War Axe. Though it's very not the big threat, we are not seeing any Ragnaroses or Grommash. These mills are still very much something that Slowz is very dependent upon, especially something like the Fiery War Axe, as there's going to be so many of these small things that he actually would rather want to kill. Something like this Cold Light Oracle. So Ikslorin is just going to keep on milling. He feels very much safe here. Himself burning Baron get a very good thing. That is pretty much the only AoE that Slowz can put on the board. And now Ikslorin just goes straight for bouncing the first Cold Light back into hand and begins to kill the first bomb. Maybe you could probably argue that he should probably have not killed this bomb immediately, though it doesn't kill anything. And we burn Thorison too. While Ikslorin maybe the first two mills didn't do much, these two have been detrimental to Slowz, removing some of the bigger threats here. Dr. Boom being played, but except for that, probably only something like a Ysera, Alexstrasza, and a Grommash is left in the deck or in the hand. But Ikslorin still has a Cold Light left and a Groove Tender if he even wants to do even more than he already has now. And he can also still go straight into a Naturalize. Yeah, it's very much in a good spot. There's nothing that can actually happen to him here. I mean, he can just heal up from any damage taken by Dr. Boom, so he's not really going to have to worry about that. He can Naturalize it after going for a Cold Light, maybe. There's a Shield Maiden. Actually, thinking about throwing down the Malorn, something that I dislike and I'm not completely sure about. actually milling his own big game hunter. He should probably have countered this better. And yes, he can play Malone now, hoping that there's no silence in this deck. But he surely needs to at least somewhat get his hand removed. So that he doesn't mill himself, he's going for the Groove Tender instead of the Cold Light, still burning a card by Slowz. Being Grommash, oh dear. Ikslorin really being lucky by all of these mills. Ikslorin now down, so that is probably one of the very last threats that Slowz can put down. Naturalized, just getting straight into hand by of Ikslorin, and with that, the Ikslorin is going to be killed. Sylvanas is going to be milled. And Ikslorin counting the amount of cards in his hand, and probably should want to heal from here on out. He has 8 mana left, so that would, if I don't do the math wrong, that should be an Antique Heal Bot and this Healing Touch. Bring him all the way back to 24 HP. Yes, very good. Still taking a lot of damage from the Dr. Boom, but also now milling Sludge Belcher. Really, there's no big threats from Slowz anymore. There's probably still a Fiery Warx or Death Spite that hasn't been milled, but any legendary minion isn't really left, and that's the second Shield Maiden. So there's probably not any bigger banner cards anymore. There's probably still some Shield Slam, still some, maybe also still an Execute that he could have in hand, but at some point he's probably going to be able to, or Slowz is just going to play the big game hunter in some way to just get some kind of damage down. And Ikslorin, in a feeling that he's in a very good spot, is just going to go for a Keeper of the Groove on this Poison Seeds, and now also Wrath, removing the whole board, any big threat, ending at 17 HP. And there's nothing really left for Slowz. This match has been played before Blackrock Mountain was out, so there's not going to be any shenanigans with the with the 3/3 that duplicates itself, that I for some reason completely forgot about. There's a Kiss on Mystic, not really going to do anything in this Druid matchup, but at least Slowz is going to try and empty his hand so that this next Cold Light is not going to do anything. And there's a cool Taskmaster, so Slowz is actually going to be able to remove the whole board here. Though that was really not necessary. He could actually just have used the Death Rattle on his weapon, but he chooses not to do that. Ikslorin kills the Kazan Mystic, and now also is thinking about going for the lower threat pair, but actually just goes straight for a Cold Light, drawing some cards, drawing into a Youthful Brewmaster, and ending his turn, still feeling very safe after Slowz only having 8 damage on the board and Grommash already being burned. There's no big threat that Ikslorin really has to worry about at this point. And Slowz still very focused around actually keeping board control here, so Ikslorin can afford to play a little bit greedy like this. Ah yes, of course, the one thing that we haven't seen yet, Ragnaros. And so if Ragnaros was actually lucky, it would bring Ikslorin all the way down to 1 HP. Nay, actually if Slowz had actually gone for the RNG play, he would actually have been able to kill Ikslorin with Ragnaros here. But that's the naturalized, that's a dead Ragnaros, and Ikslorin all the way back up to 15. And Slowz, all the armor is already gone with 4 fatigue damage on the board. And still a Dancing Sword's ready, and Slowz says GG and goes out of this matchup. Ikslorin just getting a very strong opening and really just playing this one really well and having some really strong mills. He's very lucky actually on this. It just went perfectly for him in this matchup. And that means that he's 1-0 to Slowz after winning the very first with this fatigue druid, meaning that he's going to go further into just going straight for his very strongest deck of them all that he has, the deck that he mains, the deck that he knows the best, the Hand Mage. Slowz should probably now be aware of the fact that he's not going to play against anything that is usual. He's not going to play anything like a Wham Do It, and probably also not something like a Freeze Mage, though the Hand Mage looks very much like a Freeze Mage for the very first few turns. So, but as long as actually Slowz probably keeps the Brawl in his hand, he should probably be in somewhat of a fine shape here, I think. So, it really depends on if Ikslorin can get the Brawl out, or it plays the combo before Slowz has the Brawl, as that is the only counter to the Echo Control combo there is. So, is Ikslorin going to go 2-0, or is Slowz going to tie up the series early? Ikslorin starting with a Frostbolt here and an Antique Peelbolt and Sunfury Protector. Yes, Ikslorin going straight for removing anything that is going to be late game and getting a Sludge Belcher and an Arcane Intellect. Very good opening for against a Control Warrior, in my opinion. Just mainly due to the fact that the Control Warrior cannot really apply any pressure in the first few turns, so the Arcane Intellect is going to be able to do a lot of fine stuff here. The Acolyte of Pain should though first be played at around turn 5, as there's going to be a fiery Warwick that Ikslorin has to worry about. Just like the last match, we see nothing happening from Slowz and nothing happening from Ikslorin, just both going straight for their hero powers. And Ikslorin now also getting an Echo of Medivh and a Mountain Giant, though probably Ikslorin should first play the Mountain Giant when he also has a duplicate out on the board, especially since there's no other way for Slowz to actually miss or to play around the duplicate, because he will, no matter what, always get a Mountain Giant. It's not... What I'm trying to say is that Control Warriors don't have anything like a Hex or a Polymorph, which is really the bane of this deck here. So, Ikslorin has a lot of choices here. Probably, if nothing is going to happen from Slowz, is probably just going to go straight for an Ice Block. And Slowz, aware of the fact that he may just play against also a Fatigue Mage, is going to throw down the Fiery Warwicks and just go straight for the face on Ikslorin, trying to just remove as many cards as humanly possible. But as it turns out, or as he may realize later, Ikslorin is not playing that at all. But that has been the read by a lot of other players, so I don't blame him at all. Slowz going to coin a 6-mana creature, probably a Shield Maiden, yes. Could also have been a Sylvanas here, as we did see the last in the last match. So Ikslorin has a lot of choices. He could Frostbolt the Shield Maiden and trade in and go and then follow it up with an Ice Block, just to empty his hand a little bit. I would like that. The only problem is that he's not going to be... Yeah, okay. That is actually a better play. Instead of throwing down the Ice Block, he's going to be sure that he's able to kill the Shield Maiden with just his hero power next turn. Except if Slowz is going to heal the Shield Maiden anyway, but that is not something that normally you see from a Control Warrior. So, obviously, this is actually the better play here. Going and trading in his Sludge Belcher is not really the best value that he could hope for. There's the Sylvanas, a good polymorph target, and then so he could trade in, or just kill, not trade in, but then kill the 5/1 with his hero power, and then he follow it up with polymorphing Sylvanas, and then kill it with the Sludge Belcher. I very much like this. Yes, Ikslorin agrees, but actually goes straight for face instead of killing the sheep. Probably wants to maximize the amount of damage from the Sludge Belcher if Slowz should actually end up having something like an execute here. So should he have an execute, then he would still have taken the 3 damage to his face instead of... and then, yeah. I don't see any reason why I'm going to say that even more. Why I tried to explain it several times. Okay, Slowz going for the Death Spite and just kills the Sludge Belcher with the sheep. And now also having this Death Spite ready for something like a Gormash or any other frightening minion that he could play here. Actually, really not wanting to play anything. Doesn't want to play the Mountain Giant before he gets a duplicate out or anything. Though he plays the Acolyte of Pain as just to deny the use of this Death Spite here. And also just to empty his hand. He could maybe hope for something like a Shield Slam on this Acolyte of Pain. Only getting one card out of it and also baiting the Shield Slam. Though Slowz doing that is something that sounds very unreasonable to me. But Ikslorin is in a very comfortable position here. He's just waiting for the combo here. He has a Flame Strike. He actually has two of them. There's actually the Shield Slam on the Acolyte of Pain. Doing exactly what Ikslorin had hoped. Only bringing him all the way up to... Only bringing him up all the way to 10 cards, not missing one card at all. He can Flame Cannon and then Fire Blast the Sludge Belcher. He was thinking about going for the Mountain Giant at first, but he just ended up saying, nope. I still want to wait for the duplicate here. Playing it very greedy, and there's no reason not to do it, as Slowz is really not applying any pressure. He's not needing to apply pressure himself, because he just wants to wait and win in the end. Though Slowz is building up a lot of HP and a lot of armor, though he's already using one Shield Slam, so he can only kill one other giant with another Shield Slam here. There's the Armor Smith, and if Slowz is going to be very greedy, he's going to just go and with the Death Spite straight into Ikslorin's face, but not really worth it. He probably would rather want to wait until we see something like Womash go down. Ikslorin again waiting and seeing if he should go for the Mountain Giant. Goes straight for it and then Flame Strikes this whole board. Giving him some extra armor to Slowz, but doesn't really care. So he's probably going to see an Execute at this point. We haven't seen anyone yet and we're still very far into the deck. There's the second Shield Slam, meaning that Slowz can only kill the other 7 or 8 giants that are going to go down with 2 Executes and the Brawl. Though Ikslorin didn't really duplicate it yet, he's still very much in a comfortable position here. Hasn't been able to be hurt enough to really be afraid of his HP, and also he has another Ice Block already in hand should he get further down. There's the duplicate. 1 or 2 turns too late, but Ikslorin is completely fine with that. Plays the duplicate, ready for the next few turns. But problem is right now that he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards in hand. He will have to at least get down to 7 cards after playing something if he wants to not burn any cards. So he will probably have to play something like a giant followed up with a Sunfury Protector and then something else. If he gets a Mountain Giant out with a full hand, he could actually go for the Antique Heal, but on top of that, getting all the way down to this amount of cards that he wants to. But he top decks a Flame Cannon, kills Thorison immediately, and denying any further ramping for Slowz. But still, 1 times Thorison is still very much worth it with the hand size that Slowz has. Still 6 cards that are going to be very much cheaper. And Execute for something like 0 mana is still very much better than something for 1. And there's the Ragnaros bringing Ikslorin all the way down to 18. And Ikslorin now throwing down lower depth. But since we have a duplicate, we probably also want something like a Sunfury Protector down. But problem right now is that maybe the if Slowz at least doesn't want to try and kill lower depth at first, he may actually run into Ragnaros again, duplicating the 2-3 instead, which is something that Ikslorin didn't want last time and also doesn't want now. And Ikslorin also acknowledges the fact that he has 8 cards in hand, meaning that he's going to burn a card should he duplicate something. Slowz is going to give Ikslorin 2 more lower depths, which is against a Control Warrior. Okay, it's going to be more an irritating thing for something like a Rogue, I've had, for example, it was a really fun game. I had something like 4 or 5 lower depths, and I had dear. There's a polymorph burning for the Wagnors, meaning that the only answer that Ikslorin actually had for that is going to be dead. Though another lower threat is going to go down, denying any kind of support for the Wagnors and something like an execute. Or not denying it, but as such, he's not going to be able to play as much more. But yeah, I had a rogue rage quit because I have threw down something like 4 or 5 lower threats. Pretty much one turn after the other. There's a Sludge Belcher, making the Flame Strike look much more juicy. But that will also then still be the second Flame Strike. But actually, if Wagnors pretty much hits the face, that would have been still a little bit more something that he would have wanted. So Ikslorin is going to Flame Strike and kill the Sludge Belcher with his Fire Blast. Problem though is that Wagnors has 3 HP, so Ikslorin is just 1 off from actually killing it, but just trades in his 1 lower step as he has another one. That's fine. Ikslorin really doesn't want to win with all of these giants anyway, so since he hasn't luckily burned any giant, he's in a fine enough spot. Cruel Taskmaster going down, killing the 2-1. So Slowz really just gaining board control here. But Ikslorin can pretty much just throw down another lower threat after with a Sludge Belcher. How's that? That's a lot of pain. There you go. That's a Sludge Belcher, and there's also a lower threat. Very much again being a pain in the bottom. Though Slowz is going to be able to kill the pretty much kill all of the actually going for the 5 rewards on the Sludge Belcher drop and going with the 2-2 straight into the face, meaning that actually this explosive sheep is going to be able to kill everything on Slow's board, but and just hurt the lower threat enough to actually have the 5 rewards being able to kill it, but so there's an acolyte of pain. So Ikslorin has to the question is if he wants to go all the way down to 2 HP on the lower threat, or if he wants to give him 2 cards. So there's the explosive sheep. So he's going to go instead go. Okay, so if he wanted to kill the acolyte of pain, he should have killed the acolyte of pain first. So that's a misplay. So at this point, he should probably have just gone straight into face of Slowz instead. But he throws a Frostbolt into the face. I was thinking about it, just denying the use of a weapon, but it's not really worth it. And Slowz really just getting pretty much to the point where he can actually just have much more armor than he has actually HP. He's very close to 60 HP here, though with the combo by Ikslorin after a brawl or something, or if Slowz is unable to really answer some part of the combo, he can still be killed very easily. But at first, Ikslorin has to deal with this Baron Geddon here. Okay, Ikslorin going for the Mountain Giant and followed up by a Frostbolt probably. And then Fire Blast the 7-2 also to get it ready to be Fire Blasted next turn 2. So he's going to take 1 extra damage on, or 2 damage on the Mountain Giant, but that's pretty much fine. He can hopefully bait out something like an Execute on this Molten Giant. Or not Molten, but Mountain Giant. And Baron Geddon will not really have done much. To be honest, he has killed lower threat and has been able to make an Execute able on next turn, or just play a big game hunter. But that means there's no big game hunter for all of these next Molten Giants, and that is one deck big game hunter too, meaning that Ikslorin can actually just go for a Fire Blast, though this Mad Scientist is not really going to do anything at all. But it's still a 2-2 on the board that he's maybe going to be able to get something out of Slowz here. Slowz going for Dr. Boom again. Something that we also saw last game, though very much earlier, but Ikslorin actually has no answer for this. The very last card is going to be the second Molten Giant, and Ikslorin is probably just going to try and kill the bots and then follow it up with just playing all the Molten Giants he has. Though he still has to very much try and bait out this brawl, but that is impossible without getting the Molten Giants down. So since he has actually enough mana for it, he's going to go and throw down 2 Molten Giants and get the Echo of Medivh combo ready, and now also another Echo of Medivh, and there we go. Though I do not agree with this play, throwing down all of these extra giants. All 4 giants are already enough to force a brawl from Slowz, so these extra 2 giants are not enough at all to do anything from Slowz. And that's sorry, so it looks like Slowz actually has a brawl in hand, pretty much removing 8 times 6 damage. That is 48 damage. Pretty much nearly a lethal on Slowz. Though we still see 2 Molten Giants followed up by something like an Ikslorin, but the Ikslorin is probably going to be needed on Ikslorin's face himself. There's a Whirlwind, interestingly enough. Followed up by Death's Bite. Okay, so Slowz is at first just going to go for the breaking the ice block before probably going for something like a brawl. There we go, that's a brawl for 4 mana. And he now also is ready to play Gormash next turn. Ikslorin, funnily enough, still has 1 giant on board, but there's an execute killing that. And Ikslorin takes 1 fatigue damage already, meaning that he has to use Ikslorin this very turn, or is going to be killed just by fatigue damage next turn, because ice blocks do not do anything against fatigue damage, as that is actually drawn on your own turn. Since Slowz doesn't have a second brawl, Ikslorin is luckily enough going to be able to throw at least these 3 8s down on the board, but that is still 2 giants less than what he could have hoped for before. So that is only 16 damage a turn, and we still also need to see Gormash here. And Ikslorin is probably going to die of fatigue damage before Slowz is going to be. Already at 2, going to go down to 6 next turn, throwing down everything he has just to have maximized the damages. These mad scientists may not do much, but it's still very much 4 damage a turn. If Ikslorin is actually even going to be able to kill Slowz with all of this HP before he dies himself, it's very questionable if he's actually going to be able to... Oh, there's a Kazan Mystic, meaning that Ikslorin is completely unable to do anything. He needs to get Slowz all the way down to 2 HP if he wants to still stay alive here. He can't kill the Kazan Mystic with a Mad Scientist and then keep on banging on the face, but it's still going to be even harder than before, and he has just removed the ice block for something like the Gormash, meaning that Ikslorin really is pretty much dead here. And that means that Slowz is tying the series up to a 1-1 after Ikslorin really just having pretty much the victory in the pocket, but not going straight, but forgetting that one of the key cards of a control warrior is a brawl. So we're now going to see a hand mage versus a mech mage here. This was the one matchup that Ikslorin actually won against Freybeer. So it's maybe actually that Ikslorin understands this matchup and actually knows what he's doing, and probably also has an edge. But Slowz is still running very much as good and very much scary deck himself. So both of them can very much win this. And Slowz has the advantage of knowing what he's playing against, and Ikslorin still has to figure out if he's playing against something like a mech mage. But statistically speaking, he is going to be. So Ikslorin is going to throw away the Acolyte of Pain and also the sheep, or the explosive sheep, mainly due to the fact that most of the stuff that a mech mage has is actually at 3 HP, meaning that the explosive sheep will not be able to kill it. And the explosive sheep is a turn 4 play, meaning that he will probably not be able to do anything at all. And there's a mad scientist, not really showing that much what he's playing against, but still could very much be a mech mage. For some reason I completely forgot what we were talking about. So Slowz getting a secret up, most probably a mirror entity, but could also be a counter spell. So that would probably deny actually the whole next turn, at the very least. And Ikslorin should at least not play the ice block here, because he should be aware of that it could be let's try that, and that it could be a counter spell. So Ikslorin goes for the Arcane Intellect just to try and see if he can get the best or get the least bad thing out of the counter spell. And there, as you can see, as I said, most stuff that a mech mage actually has is 3 HP, but with a mirror entity, which actually just has realized after it is not a counter spell, actually just mirror entities his one explosive sheep, meaning that it kills everything but the drop from the mech, not the mech warper, but the 4-3. And actually, Slowz gets a really good drop out of that with the 2-2 mech with a divine shield. And now we see followed up by this. Damn, I have really a big problem all of a sudden with remembering what all of these cards are called. Interesting. Snow Chugger, thank you. Interestingly enough, that was one of my favorite cards at the start of the GVG expansion, and I for some reason completely forgot what it was called. Probably mainly due to the fact that I haven't played with it at all. Should Ikslorin actually be able to top deck another explosive sheep, he's actually going to kill this whole board again. If that secret by Slowz is going to be a mirror entity. Ikslorin getting a secret up by himself, it is a 50-50 chance if it is going to be an ice block or a duplicate. Ikslorin should probably figure out what it is at first before anything else. He hasn't checked it yet, very interestingly enough. And the thing is that some mech mages do not want a polymorph, meaning that these molten giants may or may not be able to do anything around this duplicate. That luckily this thing wasn't. Ikslorin though still feels very comfortable in this position. Goes straight for the Acolyte of Pain, duplicates that one, as he's the least afraid of giving Slowz some card draw. He doesn't want to give him something like a Molten Giant, of course. And Slowz is just going to milk the most out of his own Acolyte of Pain. Giving Ikslorin though also some extra card draw. Not going with the 4-5 into Ikslorin. And just getting the most out of this. I'm not completely sure about that, because he's also giving Ikslorin all of this card draw. I mean, it is a Sunfury Protector, obviously, and one other card, but I don't really know. He could try and mill Ikslorin, but that seems a little bit funky and not really something that you would want to do. I mean, he could maybe burn another Mech Echo of Medivh or a duplicate, but Ikslorin already has 2 Molten Giants and an Alexstrasza in hand, and both Flame Strikes that he would want. And he can kill pretty much everything. And since Slowz now goes straight for face with everything, Ikslorin is going to be able to go down with the Flame Strike and being able to pretty much kill everything. And there's a Nat Pagel, even more card draw for Slowz, but no threat for Ikslorin at all. And Ikslorin is actually going to burn a card, so he's actually has to play this Molten Giant, something that he doesn't want to do, but he has to. Sadly. But he has a Time Rewinder, meaning that he can maybe do some fancy stuff here with something like the like Alexstrasza or Sunfury Protector. If he doesn't want to duplicate the Sunfury Protector, he can do that. Something fancy like that. Or he can just use the Time Rewinder on this giant itself, just going for face first and then just removing the card out of his hand with that. There's the Annoyage one. There's a Tinkertown Technician. Not enough on the board really to make another Flame Strike usable, but on the other hand, it would still slow Slowz down enough. But he still very much has a lot of stuff in hand. And there's another Mad Scientist, meaning that Ikslorin cannot play another Giant after this Flame Strike. But actually there's no other secrets in the deck, meaning that if Slowz actually has another Mirror Entity or a counter spell, they're going to be in his hand and he has to play them himself. And there's Antonidas just coming out straight after Ikslorin actually top decking a Polymorph. But Slowz is actually going to get two fireballs out of him at least, making it a 7-7, but also making it very much a wonderful thing for Ikslorin to get down. Though Ikslorin was just thinking about using the Echo of Medivh, but then realizing that he probably also should want to kill the Archmage Antonidas here. And actually that leaves him with a lot of these Giants being able to be killed here by all of these fireballs. But Slowz is just going to go with all of his fireballs straight into the face of Ikslorin probably. It seems like he wants to trigger the Ice Block, but Ikslorin has another Ice Block in hand, and Ikslorin has lethal on the board. So the fact that Slowz didn't kill any of the Giants meant that Ikslorin wins this one very easily here in the end, playing it safe and winning the third match in the series, making this a 2-1 to Ikslorin here. And Ikslorin has now to go over to his mech rogue instead, going straight up against Slowz mech mage. He hasn't wanted to change this one yet, and that is probably going to be something that Slowz is going to win if he can hold off the early assault, which he should be able to do rather easily with a mech mage, as they are mid-range decks and can throw down a lot of stuff very early, trading away with Ikslorin's aggressive minions, which are probably not going to be able to do a lot. Also, the fact that the Fellweaver is probably going to be able to be misused by all of these 1-mana spells that are the spare parts themselves. So this is probably going to be something that Slowz is going to be able to take home and forcing the ace match. But Ikslorin has a Cogmaster down, a Clockwork Gnome down, and now also going second. Pretty much the most perfect thing that he could hope for, though the Clockwork Gnome is going to be killed immediately. But on the other hand, it also denies Slowz of playing anything turn 2 himself, meaning that he won't be able to play something like the Mech Warper himself. Though he does also play the Clockwork Gnome, meaning that he will be able to kill the Cogmaster and the Clockwork Gnome himself, pretty much moving the whole board by Ikslorin. So I'm not completely sure about this play here himself. I would probably actually just coin out the dagger and just wait for the time to actually just throw down so much stuff on the board that Slowz is not going to be able to actually kill him himself. Maybe, yeah, actually removing this, all of this stuff, but Slowz is actually just going to go straight for the Annoyatron himself, and meaning that Ikslorin is actually just going to go straight for the dagger probably, and then kill his own Clockwork Gnome. Meaning that he at least has a spare part, which is going to be an emergency coolant, something that is going to be very good for him, as he can then deny some trading from Slowz.
Powering up. Portals online.
Though Slowz actually now having the Mech Warper is going to be able to be much better at killing all of the stuff, though. Buffing up the Mech Warper, he's going to be able to go with 2 damage to the face and be pretty sure that he's going to be able to kill the Mech Warper before anything else. He can then follow that up with a Neutron or a Cogmaster's Wrench. Yeah, probably he should go for the Cogmaster's Wrench, killing the 2-3, and then the Mech trading away with the Mech Warper. Though it looks like Slowz is actually going to go for 1 extra HP on the Mech Warper, making it impossible for Ikslorin actually to kill it. Except if he in some way... there we go. Okay, so Mech Warper is going to go down to 1 HP, but on the other hand, Ikslorin is then going to be able to top deck a Mech Warper and place an Annoyatron. He goes for the Harvest Golem, but he completely forgot about the fact that there's a mirror entity there, giving Slowz now a second Mech Warper, meaning that Slowz is going to be probably able to snowball out of hand, just play all of his stuff very fast. But on the other hand, he has only 2 cards in hand, and Ikslorin is actually the one sitting with card draw right now, that is Jeeves. And there's an Assured Wake, something that is not a mech, so it's not going to be cheaper, but still going to go for a card draw. And there's going to be a lot of 2 mana drops that he could play, that these Mech Warpers are going to make able for him to play or kill. And Slowz is going to straight away deny him the use of the Mech Warper himself. So Ikslorin is now sitting with a Cogmaster's Wench he cannot use and an Annoyatron. Ikslorin is just going to straight for face, as he has nothing else really to do here. And hoping that he at least doesn't get another Snowchugger straight to the face here. Which Slowz is probably going to do if he's good. He's probably going to Fire Blast the Annoyatron, kill it with the Mech Warper, and then also kill, go for Snowchugger into the face, followed up with the, probably going to try and trade away, as we see here, with this one. But still, Ikslorin frozen himself is not going to be able to do anything here at all, except if he gets the +1 attack with this one. And with the reversing switch, he actually should be able to kill the, yeah, he can actually reverse switch the 2-3 Snowchugger, meaning that it will actually be killable next turn. But not doing it immediately, so that he's very much sure that he can actually surprise this one before. And being a little bit angry on that pylon, getting his frustrations away. Though Ikslorin is very certainly behind, that Slowz is certainly in a very comfortable spot here with 4 cards and having pretty much control of the board. And Ikslorin trying and gain the initiative here. Ikslorin is still playing it the best he probably can. There's been some small plays that I disagree with, but overall he's not playing it completely wrong. He's still in a somewhat okayish position here. So he could probably still turn it around with a good top deck and playing it correctly after this Snowchugger here is killed. Though he is going down to 14, but that is still very much early thing. A Fireball going into the 4-4. And now in second Snowchugger. So just as Ikslorin is actually going to be able to kill the one of them, the other one goes down. So Mech Warper Jeeves goes down, and he should probably... Okay, so he doesn't go for a reversing switch yet. He's going to do that play later. Goes for the dagger with the rest of the mana he has, and goes top decks a Fellweaver. But Slowz is going to be able to empty his hand, get 3 new cards with Jeeves, and probably just gain a massive lead here. Now Archmage Antonidas goes down, followed up by Whirling Blades. Luckily, even making actually the reversing switch impossible for use on that one. And if anything, the just the fireballs are just going to kill him. Ikslorin is going to be able to kill everything on the board, but that is a fireball in Slow's hand and just achieves on the board. And Slowz take this one home after really having good control of the board, but also being very aggressive at times, knowing when he has actually forced Ikslorin to trade and try and gain the initiative here. And we go straight in to the very next match here with just Mech Rogue going against Slow's Ramp Druid. As told by me by another opponent later on, the Druid should actually have the best matchup against the Mech Rogue. So Ikslorin is probably going to be in for a very, very hard time, and we're probably going to end up with a 3-2 as I predicted in the early analysis here.
I must protect the wild.
Really depends on if the Druid is going to be able to deal with the early aggression, and with Ikslorin should probably have thrown down that SI agent, and as he seems to be, he also has clicked on it very hard, as he has just realized that that was a misplay and he's just playing too fast here. Ikslorin really has to slow down and play this one well if he really wants to win this one. And with no play at first, he's going to play a Micro Machine on turn 2 without anything to back it up or hide it behind. He really wants something like an Annoyatron on turn 2. But that is an Annoyatron. Maybe he will get away with it. But Slowz, since he knows that he's going to go up against something that is a very aggressive mech rogue, he should probably have been mulliganing for some kind of Keep of the Groove or some kind of Wrath here. There we see the Wrath. Though that will make it possible for the Harvest Golem to go down. Probably really rather safe here. And the next turn he's going to be able to go for a dagger followed up by a Goblin Autobarber. Probably being able to apply some pressure here. There's a Shade of Naxxramas. He actually probably now wants actually to gain some kind of... probably wants to top deck in the near future some kind of... not Whirlwind. Ah dear. Man, I'm really off with all of these card names, but... The... That's a bug. Well, sorry. For some reason that completely caught me off guard. But, but what he really wants is just to try and see if he can really top deck something like the card that destroys your own weapon and deals that damage to everything else. And with that, there's Ikslorin is just able to actually nearly getting everything down on the board, though he has to use his SI agent to kill the 3-1 Shade of Naxxramas, which has the biggest, is the most important one, as that is probably one of the key cards for Slowz to actually have. But since he has actually not going to be able to have it buffed as hard, he's probably going to get Slowz somewhat slowed down here. Somewhat at least. And if he follows it up with a Goblin or 2 Goblin Autobarbers, he's probably going to be able to buff this weapon up so far that he's actually going to be able to kill this 3-4-6 very fast. Or he's just going to trade away, going for a dagger and then buffing that one. I like that one very much. Getting the most use out of this extra damage from the Goblin Autobarber. And he would probably still have to trade the same way as before anyway. Meaning that the SI agent would probably not have survived anyway. Well, actually, really getting himself into a position where he can throw down Jeeves and just gain so much card roll that he's actually going to be able to over-one Slowz, which is one of the tactics that this deck uses. Slowz going for the coin, going up to 7 mana, probably something like a Dr. Boom here. And Innovate even, so we're going to go all the way up to 9 mana. So we're going to see scenarios with 2 taunts, making Ikslorin having to use a lot of time to just get through this one before anything else. Another Goblin Autobarber is going to go down, followed up by Jeeves, maybe, or an Eviscerate. Ikslorin is thinking about what to do exactly here. Eviscerate, not completely sure where he actually wants to do it. Going through the taunt or if he wants to kill scenarios here. Yeah, you have already attacked, dude. But just keep on applying pressure, denying any trading with scenarios here. I like that one very much. A Keep of the Groove is going to die to the Annoyatron, and actually is still going to be very much feeling rather comfortable with 3/2s on the board and still 3 damage in his hand with the dagger, and then also can just throw down anything that he would gain just straight in his anything that he would gain or top deck, and then Jeeves, and gets 3 cards drawn immediately. There's another Shade of Naxxramas that Ikslorin has to deal with. There's a Mech Warper, so Ikslorin, as I said, is just going to be able to kill everything right now and just go straight for face and just tries to see if he can overrun. Since he has Jeeves now, he's going to be able to probably play so much stuff that he's going to be somewhat able to kill Slowz. Though he may also run out of steam if Slowz can play throw even more taunts down that Ikslorin cannot deal with here. But an Iron Sensei and a Clockwork Gnome is going to be very irritating, and followed up with something like an SI agent. Also very much irritating. There's a heal. Slowz getting further away from anything that could actually be threatening to Ikslorin. And Ikslorin going straight for another Mech Warper by Clockwork Gnome. Iron Sensei just dumping his whole hand, killing the is another shade of next ramming, going straight for face again. Getting Slowz all the way down to 12 and having a respectable board, but if there's anything like, probably not going to be something like a Poison Seed Starfall combo, but Slowz is still going to be very much able to trade very favorably on this board, especially since he has 2 for 5s and actually has, the only bigger thing he has here is this Goblin Auto Bubble that has been buffed by the 2-2, and that 2-2 is probably going to be killed as one of the first things together with the... he actually probably wouldn't want to kill the Mech Warper here, since Ikslorin is only going to be a threat, or that Mech Warper is only going to be a threat if Ikslorin can actually top deck something like a Jeeves. But there's a Dr. Boom. Ikslorin very much getting in a very uncomfortable position as Slowz actually nearly has just lethal on the board with all of these big minions that he has. There's a Time Rewinder, there's an Eviscerate. That is actually exactly what he needs to get lethal here. The 2 damage from the Time Rewinder is enough to get another SI agent, and then Eviscerate being the lethal here on Slowz. Actually just nearly taking the win here in the ace match. Nearly impossible if it wasn't for these very last top decks that he actually got. Very RNG dependent, but what a win! Slowz really getting that one home. Nearly, if it wasn't for that one Eviscerate, which was the only card in the rest of the deck that Ikslorin could actually use to get the win, or Slowz would just have killed him the very next turn. And then also that Time Rewinder, which was important for Ikslorin actually getting the extra 2 damage that he needed out of that SI agent. Oh dear. That was a little bit of a dirty win, but man, that was actually also a pretty cool one too. Congratulations to Ikslorin for winning another series here in the Hearthstone Pro AM tournament. Thanks to Slowz for playing, and thank you for watching. We'll be back soon.